If you need to ask your partner to unfollow an ex, that is no longer your partner anymore.
Before I respond, I want to be especially clear about something. There are legitimate conversations to be had about boundaries in relationships, right? If your partner's actively messaging an ex, if they're meeting up with them behind your back and they're doing things that would make any reasonable person uncomfortable, those are conversations worth having. That's not what this is. This is him saying if they're still following them on social media, that's a relationship ender. And I want to dive into why that's so problematic, even if it is being disguised as something that might sound reasonable when dressed up in weaponized therapy speak.
That there's a certain level of maturity that is required to have a decent relationship. I didn't say extraordinary relationship, I said decent relationship. And one of them is not having to explain that you having ties to a past partner is a problem to this current relationship because you're bringing that here. And so, excuse me for a second. See this space? It's mine. You're bringing something in here that I don't like.
And there it is. Right, the key to why I'm even responding to this. This space is mine, not ours, mine. This is where it becomes clear that this isn't about boundaries, right? Boundaries are about you. I'm not comfortable with X, so I won't do Y. I'm not comfortable with heights, so I won't go skydiving with you. But this is control. This is, I'm not comfortable with something you're doing, so you need to change it. That's not a boundary, that's a cage. And look, I get it. If you notice your partner's ex in their social media feed and that makes you feel some type of weird way, that's human, right? Those feelings are valid. But the mature response isn't, you need to unfollow them because I said so. The mature response is asking yourself why that bothers you so much to begin with. Have some self-confidence. I've never worried about any of my wife's exes because I know I'm better. And I don't mean that in a weird, egotistical way. I'm just confident that the love we have for each other is real because I never lied or manipulated her into being with me. She chose me. She continues to choose me every single day, not because I forced her to delete her past, but because we built something together that's worth choosing. Our present and our future is stronger than an old Facebook memory. And before anyone jumps into the comments, yes, this goes both ways, right? There are absolutely women out there who do this exact same thing to their partners. Women who demand their boyfriend unfollows every female friend, who check his phone constantly, who need to approve every social interaction. That is also toxic. Control is control regardless of who's doing it. But here's the thing, and this is important. We can acknowledge that while also acknowledging that this specific brand of advice is overwhelmingly being marketed to young men by men as some kind of power move, as a way to maintain frame or keep her in check or whatever other pseudo-alpha nonsense they're selling this week. This isn't me saying women can't be controlling. They absolutely can. But when I see a dude with a microphone telling other men that demanding your partner erase their past is quote unquote common sense and maturity, I'm gonna call that out. Just like I'd call it out if it was a woman saying the same thing. The point is toxic is toxic. And if your partner, regardless of gender, is demanding you perform this digital cleanse as proof of your commitment, that's a red flag, regardless of if you're a man or a woman or anyone else on the gender spectrum.
Now, the real question is, do you even want a relationship, or is that something you still want in your life? And I promise you, the worst thing that you can do is have to convince other people to do things for themselves. That requires common sense, because then you have somebody who's a liability in your circle.
I love how guys like this weaponize that phrase, it's just common sense, which is really just code for, I realize how little this makes sense, but I don't want to explain why I think this way, because if I did, then you might realize how controlling I'm being. Do you know how many men my wife is friends with on social media that she previously dated? I don't either, nor do I care. Until seeing this video, it's literally never even crossed my mind, because that's what happens when you have a relationship built on trust. And sure, that's easy for me to say 15 years and 3 children into my marriage, but it's been like that since the beginning. If I didn't feel that way, we wouldn't have been in a relationship, and we sure as hell wouldn't have gotten married. Now, to be clear, trust doesn't mean secrecy. My wife has full access to my phone. She knows all of my passwords. I'm pretty sure I'm still logged into my email on her computer. But here's the thing. She doesn't need to go through them because we built our relationship from the ground up on honesty. There's no hiding. There's no secret conversations, no deleting messages before she sees them. The access is there not as a surveillance system, but as a natural extension of our lives being intertwined. That's the difference. She can look if she wants to. She just doesn't want to because she trusts me. And if she did, I genuinely wouldn't care because I'm not doing anything worth hiding other than an occasional surprise gift I might be getting her. And I trust her, not because we've eliminated all possible temptation from each other's lives, but because we've built something real that neither of us wants to jeopardize. If you feel like you need to monitor your partner's every move because you don't trust them, that's a problem. But if you feel like you need to hide everything from your partner because you don't trust them with transparency, that's also a problem. Healthy relationships live in neither of these extremes. Side note, I was actually in a play with my wife's ex once a long time ago, and as far as I know, he really liked me. I didn't have any strong feelings either way about him because he was just a guy who used to date someone I love, who is now just a person existing in the world. We didn't become best friends or anything. He's not on our Christmas card list, but I also didn't feel the need to challenge him to a duel for the honor of my lady's Instagram following list. But let's talk about common sense. Right? Your partner had a life before you. Not everyone ends their relationships by burning all bridges and salting the earth. Sometimes people date, realize they're better as friends or better as nothing at all, and just move on with their lives. Like, what's the alternative here? Every time a relationship ends, both people have to perform some sort of digital exorcism? Sorry, didn't work out with us. Now I have to block you, unfollow you, delete all of our photos, burn sage over my phone, salt the earth where we took our first date photo, and maybe get a new phone number just to be safe? My future partner, who I haven't even met yet, requires this level of devotion to our future relationship. But when you date people who you actually liked as people, instead of objects that were simply useful for you to show off to your friends, it's understandable that you might not despise them after the relationship is over. You had real conversations with them, shared experiences. So I have trouble understanding why would you need to pretend they never existed once things didn't work out romantically. In the end, that was all part of the journey that led to the two of you currently being together. One last thing, and I'm trying to say this as gently as possible. If your relationship can be threatened by your partner following someone on Instagram, your relationship was already in trouble. A follow button's not what's going to make or break your connection. But treating your partner like they need to erase their entire past as some sort of weird loyalty test to you is a pretty good way to do just that. Because let's be honest here, this is rarely something that happens in a vacuum. If this was just like a weird hang up you had, but everything else about you was absolutely fantastic, then you could probably figure out a way to work through this. But this is almost always part of a pattern of abuse and domination. I loved the way you dressed before, but that's going to change now that you're with me. I love how social and outgoing you are, but you're going to need to stop hanging out with your friends if this is going to work out. It's rarely as overt in the beginning, but it ends up slowly wrapping around you until the person you are when you're with them barely resembles the person you were before. And your partner deserves better than that. Hell, you deserve better than that. You deserve to be in a relationship where you don't have to police someone's follow list to feel loved. You deserve to be with someone who chooses you not because you eliminated all other options out of fear of straying, but because they genuinely want to be with you. Work on yourself. Build actual trust, and maybe, just maybe, stop listening to guys who think monitoring your partner's social media is a personality trait. Because I promise you, the only person that's actually a liability in your circle is you. There are billions of people in this world. Instead of trying to force someone to fit into this tiny, controlled box you've built, go find someone who naturally wants what you want. Someone whose values align with yours without you having to police them into compliance. That person exists, but you'll never find them if you're too busy trying to reshape everyone who gets close to you.